Jo Bryan at Antiques Roadshow in Charleston, and I'm joined with Joanne Cassaro, who came all the way from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Joanne, tell us why you're here.
I'm here. My father was very instrumental. His name was Richard, or as they knew him in the war, Dick the Dog Tripp, who was the landing signal officer on the Yorktown from 1942 through 1945. And was very instrumental. He was a landing signal officer, and when I heard that the Antiques Roadshow was coming to Charleston, I decided to bring his flags, his original flags that he had on the ship during the war in the Pacific, and come back and pay my respects to him. He was very instrumental in bringing the Yorktown to Charleston, and back in the beginning days before they decided to keep it from being scrap metal. So he was, his heart and soul has always been attached to Charleston.
And that heart and soul, you see a picture of him here on the Yorktown. Let's see if we can show it. This was National Geographic from 1945, and there he is.
And when
with the flags.
This top picture, this is from National Geographic, 1945, and this top picture is actually on the ship. When you go through the area, the mess hall, or where they used to eat dinner, there's a picture of him, this particular picture as well. And so we thought we'd bring this and a lot of other really interesting things that we found over the years.
So as a child growing up, what were your memories of his discussion of the Yorktown?
I think my dad, well, the Yorktown was also, noted as the fighting lady, and certainly was one of the ladies of our household. He was very passionate about his role in the war, and then saving the Yorktown with Jim Bryan and Joe Sharkey and a group of the original lovers of the ship, and decided back in, I think it was the 70s, that he decided to really step up. And
when you say saving, what was about to happen?
They were going to scrap it like they scrapped most of the ships back then, and into making, as he called it, making razor blades. And so they just said they couldn't do that. And so he became the president of the Yorktown Association back in the 70s, I believe, and and this is in California. He never got paid a dime, but he was very instrumental in approaching Hewlett-Packard for some serious money to save the ship, and ended up spending the rest of his life fundraising and locating ships, or locating planes and restoring planes and bringing them out, and just endless work.
So did he see it at its home now in Charleston?
Oh yeah, he was there all along the way, and every year we'd come back. He was the president of the association, so every October he was heading the galas, the 4-day galas every October on the reunions. And I was with him actually in 1988, and that was right before Hugo, and so it was interesting meeting all of his boys.
But why was it so important for him to preserve the Yorktown for future generations?
That ship was everything. It was their home, and to have to be so young and experience so much of life in 4 or 5 years. Everything kind of goes back to that period in time, and they just could not, they would do anything to preserve this from being scrapped. And we just saw so many other ships that just didn't have the funding and were scrapped and thrown into mothballs, and there was such passion and such camaraderie that this ship brought, and they stayed together and united to save it.